The cotton gin revolutionized the South, forever altering American history. But what if that butterfly flapped its wings a little later? Join us as we explore a timeline where the cotton gin wasn't invented until 1808. Buckle up, because the consequences completely changed American history. Firstly, without the cotton gin's early boost to the economy, cotton production sputters, the southern economy weakens, dampening the demand for slave labor. This effect ripples outwards. For the North, northern textile mills scramble for alternative sources of cotton, perhaps looking to foreign markets like Egypt or India, or diversifying into markets such as wool. For the South, planters with less reliance on cotton diversify their crops, focusing on food production or experimenting with new cash crops. The lack of the cotton boom alters the political landscape significantly. The insatiable hunger for land fueled by the cotton might be less pronounced. This could slow down or even alter the course of westward expansion. The alignment of the cotton gin with the ban of the transatlantic slave trade leads to an increase in demand for slaves. As a result, internal slave trade booms. Both the northern and southern economies grow. A landmark Supreme Court case that originally occurred in 1857 with the Dred Scott decision now occurs in 1810 and is now between Obadiah German and Lander Smith. This is an excerpt from the majority opinion.
It is the judgment of this court, therefore, that it appears the plaintiff is not a citizen of North Carolina, in the sense of the Constitution, and that, in regard to the movement of slaves from North Carolina to Ohio, or any slave to free state, is unrestricted. Furthermore, the Congress of the United States has no authority to ban slave trade in federal territory. The case was carried before the Supreme Court of the state, was fully argued there, and that court decided that neither the plaintiff nor his family was entitled to freedom, and were still slaves of the defendant, and reversed the judgment of the inferior state court.
Objection! Overruled!
Overruled, Judge? Or is it overcooled?
In the year 1808, the cotton gin was invented. Slave owners were overjoyed by the boost to a dying economy. One plantation owner wrote this to the inventor of the cotton gin, Abraham Lincoln Whitney.
The letter I am writing to you today is filled with my deepest gratitude. Ever since the slave trade closed in January of 1808, I was not able to expand my production of cotton. In fact, my production declined 20% during that year because I had to sell half of my slaves to my neighbor for a petty price in order to not go bankrupt. I had bought new land in 1807 in hopes of expanding my plantation, but with the lack of slaves, that land had just sat there, useless. That is until I invested in your genius invention, the cotton gin. This wonderful piece of machinery has allowed my low number of slaves to be able to work all of the land that I own to its fullest capacity.
Let's explore some unforeseen consequences of this alternate timeline. In 1836, Texas applied for annexation. With the North less opposed, they were immediately accepted. This sparked the Mexican-American War 10 years earlier in 1836. However, a weaker U.S. economy struggled for 5 long years, ending the war in 1841 with a less decisive victory. Small reconstruction periods followed both in the North and the South, fostering economic growth. The Civil War, a consequence of these economic divisions, was delayed by 20 years, erupting in 1879. However, the South's booming cotton economy led to a far stronger and more confident Confederacy, potentially making this a much longer war and a bloodier conflict. The ripple effect extends beyond American borders. A war-weary U.S. still recovering from the Civil War might struggle to protect its power. This could lead to a Spanish victory, altering the course of Caribbean and Pacific Island history. Without the economic benefits of the Spanish-American War, the U.S. might not be able to join World War I in 1917. This could prolong the war in Europe, leaving behind a more devastated continent. In this alternate timeline, World War I lasted twice as long and the U.S. was unable to join until 1921, just a year before the war ended. Since World War I lasted twice as long, the Great Depression no longer occurs as it coincides with the start of World War II.
With a less involved United States, Hitler is the only European leader who can drag his country out of the economic recession due to World War I. The United States' role in World War II also becomes a secondary point of divergence. Desperate for victory, the United States grants General Patton full control of the military. British General Montgomery is no longer there to oppose Patton's rise to power. With the United States taking on the brunt of war instead of Russia, Russia's population and economy are no longer completely destroyed. This leads to a smaller surge of communism, reducing Russian-American tensions. With the United States forces focused on Europe, Japan conquers parts of Asia. However, Since the United States is completely focused on Germany, they no longer bomb Japan, but decide to bomb Germany instead to decisively end the war in the same amount of time. The government prioritizes military strength over social programs like the New Deal, which never got fully implemented due to World War II. As a result, the United States no longer becomes an economic superpower after World War II, but still becomes a military superpower due to their massive military spending and the creation of the atomic bomb. The butterfly effect continues to ripple after the war. Reduced tensions with the Soviet Union occur less due to a decisive United States role. This means that the United States and Soviet Union no longer engage in the Cold War. The United States focuses on rebuilding and no longer engages in the Korean War and the Vietnam War. The United States also does not declare a war on communism, and Europe is able to resist the pressure of communism after the war. The cotton gin's delayed invention fundamentally changes the course of American history. The United States might still be a powerful nation, but its power lies in its military way more than its economy.
In order to bolster the U.S. economy, a bill was put into action called the American Renewal Act of 2015. This act would give tax credits to innovative businesses, provide a national funding for innovation at universities, and hand out STEM education grants. In addition, it would provide lower interest loans for manufacturing, encourage public investment in infrastructure, and create laws that combat unfair trade practices.
The global landscape also shifts, with a stronger Europe creating a less important role for the United States. 195 years after the advent of the cotton gin, a town, realizing its importance, writes a proclamation letter honoring the new inventor of the cotton gin.
Proclamation posthumously honoring Abraham Lincoln Whitney. Whereas Abraham Lincoln Whitney was born on June 13, 1778 in Camden Block, Terrace. And whereas Abraham invented the cotton gin to save labor, inadvertently furthering the spread and continuation of slavery. And whereas Abraham therefore proposed a system of interchangeable parts for the standardization of firearms and other such manufactured goods to increase northern industrial capacity to compete with the southern economy. And whereas Abraham served his community and the abolitionist cause from 1805 to 1836. He donated a sum total of $200,000 dispersed among abolitionists and other charity organizations. Whereas Abraham passed away on December 4th, 1869 at his home in Pottsville, having achieved 90 years of age. And whereas Abraham donated $28,000 to fund the local Abolition Labor and History Museum and the Abraham Lincoln Whitney Foundation in his will. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that the mayor and the board of trustees of the town of Pottsville on the 17th day of March 2003, by this resolution and public record, posthumously honor Abraham Lincoln Whitney and express profound appreciation for his service not only to our community, but also this nation through his opposition toward the institution of slavery. We commemorate Abraham with the current creation of the Abraham Lincoln Whitney Grant, which aims to promote the progress in technology and culture within our community.